Chapter 9. You're lucky. It's a very short chapter. What actually happens to us when we spend time with God? The key is to fill your spirit with the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit. So as you spend quality time with God, He comes to dwell in you. And He naturally forces your spirit, your selfish, I want to feel good all the time spirit, out. As you spend time with Him through prayer, meditation, worship, listening, charitable acts, etc., you become more and more filled with His Spirit. Then your spirit becomes stronger and stronger because it's no longer your weak spirit, but God's Spirit dwelling in you. It's no longer I, but Christ who dwells in me. Galatians 2, verse 20. Sound familiar? Paul talks about that. As you get to know God, as you spend that time with Him, He naturally, I should say, supernaturally, begins to dwell in you more and more. As His Spirit becomes a greater and greater part of you, your spirit, now His Spirit, is able to overcome your fleshly desires so that you no longer want to satisfy your flesh, but you want to be satisfied by things of God. John 6, verse 26 to 27 says, "Don't labor over food that spoils. Instead, labor for the food that lasts forever, which Jesus will give you. You must continue spending quality time with the Lord if you want to keep receiving His Spirit. As you do this, His Spirit takes over and crushes more and more areas of sin. Initially, God's Spirit may only crush your desire for alcohol, then your desire to look good to others, then your desire to lie, your desire for pornography, your desire to cheat on your taxes, your desire for perfection, your desire for jewelry, your desire to always be right, etc. My point is, it doesn't all happen at once. Well, of course it can. God is God and He can do anything His incredible heart desires. But generally, it doesn't happen all at once. It's a process, it's a lifetime. Period. God recently gave me another analogy about what Paul was talking about when he said, "No longer I, but Christ who dwells in me." Well, I think it was God anyway. I'll call it the parable of the popcorn. Yes, the parable of the popcorn. He said, "Chris, as you spend time with me, it's like a bowl of popcorn." I said, "Come on, Lord, a bowl of popcorn? Who's going to buy this?" He said, "Shut up and listen." No, he didn't really say shut up. But I do love his analogies. They always clarify things for me, like the parables. He said, "The bowl is you, and the popcorn inside the bowl is both your sinful desires and your non-sinful desires. For example, love of money, alcohol, lust, anger, unforgiveness, impatience, a good job, gluttony." Now there is a pitcher of water next to the bowl of popcorn. He went on and said, "The pitcher of water represents my Holy Spirit. As you spend time with me, this pitcher of water, the Holy Spirit, is poured into you a little at a time. Eventually, my Spirit will fill you up and force out all of your old desires. All the popcorn will be forced out, so that slowly but surely it is no longer I, but God who dwells in me." Do you get this picture? Try it. Take a pitcher of water, pour it into a full bowl of popcorn, popped popcorn. As you pour it in, the popcorn gets forced out. Some popcorn fight to stay in, like our addictions that want to stay in our lives. Eventually, it becomes no longer I, popcorn, but God who dwells in me. I mentioned in the paragraphs above that there is even non-sinful desires in the bowl of popcorn, or in us. God's Spirit forces out those desires too. Why is that? The idea here is to exchange all our desires, goals, and dreams we have for God's desires, goals, and dreams for us. Let me repeat that. The idea here is to exchange all our desires, all of our goals, all of our dreams that we have, and exchange them for God's desires, God's goals, and God's dreams for us. Some of God's may be the same as ours, but we first must let go of them in order for God to reshape and form us from the inside out. Here's the point. As we spend time with God, our spirit becomes His spirit, so that it is no longer I, but God who dwells in me. Short chapter, only 5.5 minutes.